As you may have heard, David Lynch, the iconic director who never shied away from exploring the depths of dreams and the subconscious thanks to surrealist projects like Twin Peaks, Eraserhead, Blue Velvet, and Mulholland Drive, recently passed away. Despite his films polarizing critics at times,
it doesn't pay off, it doesn't have a purpose, it seems contrived, it seems frustrating.
Well, it's a good film. I mean, it's a fascinating film. I love films that refuse to be over.
He was a true original, beloved and inspired by his fellow filmmakers, and almost never felt an obligation to provide audiences with any explanation for his work.
But am I right in thinking that that's at least in the right area? No.
I don't want to explain them either. I'm not a film professor, there are more informed people than I who have dissected his work, and honestly, I don't even know what I could add to the conversation. But what I do want to look at is his acting work. I don't know, I always found it comforting to see him pop up in the odd film or TV show. It was like seeing an old familiar friend. I've collected nearly all the projects in which he appeared, and I'd like to share them with you. I also researched why he took some of these acting roles, and I think some of the answers might surprise you. So pour yourself some strong black coffee, maybe pop open a bag of Cheetos.
I love to eat cheese.
And smoke 'em if you got 'em. Let's take a look at the wonderfully odd acting career of David Lynch. After making a blink-and-you'll-miss-it cameo in his 1980 film The Elephant Man, Lynch's first on-screen speaking role was in his ambitious yet divisive adaptation of Dune. He briefly appeared as a spice worker.
Full crew, 26 men. But sire, we can't leave all this spice.
But he didn't do it for the spice. He spoke about the experience during a Guardian lecture.
I saw the dailies on that, and then I gave it to Tony Gibbs and said, see what you can do. I'm surprised I'm in the picture as much as I am. So I didn't enjoy the experience of doing it, but I enjoyed it in a way because really for the first time I felt what it must be like to face those cameras and to, I'm glad I did it so I know what an actor goes through.
Some years later in 1988, he appeared in somewhat of a leading man role in Zelly and Me, which is this kind of peculiar melodrama about a loving nanny played by Isabella Rossellini who tries to protect an orphan from an abusive grandmother in 1950s Virginia. Rossellini, who was dating Lynch at the time, convinced him to star alongside her as her character's love interest, Willie. He's so nice and polite and just very obviously in love with her. I also think you can clearly see Lynch's love for Rossellini in real life in this performance. It's like just the way he looks at her.
You look great.
Got a new lipstick.
That's it.
It's called Rapture Red. Never wore red before.
It is something.
But Willie is a little mysterious too, right? He's carrying around a suitcase. What's in it? He lives in this big house, he drives a nice car, and the mystery makes it feel like this is what David Lynch is really like. Anyway, his character eventually agrees to help Rossellini's character and the child run away together.
How about a cup of tea?
Blasphemy. Tea? Not coffee? Come on. And then, in a nice little twist, it's revealed that he's actually a butler for just some rich guy. I guess when Willie has the house to himself, he likes to put on his boss's smoking jacket and mill around the house. In David Breskin's book, Interviews, Filmmakers and Conversation, Lynch said, quote, "Mainly I did it because I had a fascination to see if I could do it. Mainly to overcome this fear of acting, which is phenomenally fearful." At first, it was a little jarring to see Lynch play this kind of ordinary guy when his work is notoriously surrealist and risque. But after seeing this outpouring of love from his fans and watching clips of his interviews, Willie seems to have similar sensibilities. Apparently, Rossellini said that they tested other actors for the role, but they all came off too modern and sexy. And then Lynch tried it, and it just, seemed to fit. Maybe on the surface, a lot of people see the darkness of his films, but really they contain themes of Americana and an appreciation for the golden age of Hollywood. I mean, his favorite films were The Wizard of Oz and It's a Wonderful Life. So I think he had this appreciation for these heartfelt stories, something he spoke of during his Masterclass video series.
Jimmy Stewart had been in the war and for years. And when he came out, he didn't know if he had the stuff. There's one place in the film where he says the word Mary. It's unbelievable what comes out of his voice, his soul.
So I don't know, maybe that's why he agreed to be in this film with Rossellini. He seemed like a true romantic in his heart. Then came a little ditty called Twin Peaks. Changed TV history forever, whatever, no big deal.
Brilliant. I have absolutely no idea what's going on.
Now, I haven't watched all of Twin Peaks yet. Luckily, my writing partner Kenny is a big fan of the show, and he's been filling me in on kind of what happens without spoiling too much. But for those of you who don't know, the show was created by David Lynch and Mark Frost, and it takes place in a fictional Pacific Northwestern town filled with a treasure trove of odd, mysterious characters as they search for the killer of homecoming queen, Laura Palmer. Lynch played FBI agent Gordon Cole, a minor supporting character who appeared occasionally throughout the series. Initially, he was only just doing voiceover as Agent Dale Cooper's boss in the 5th episode of the first season.
Good morning, Gordon. How we doing?
Cooper, where do we start? The Palmer girl or Albert's new best friend, Harry Truman?
In Lynch's autobiography, Room to Dream, he wrote, quote, "Gordon Cole, who I play, came when we were shooting a scene where Agent Cooper needs to call his unnamed boss in Philadelphia. I decided to do the voice just to make it more real, never thinking it would actually end up in the show. I was talking quite loud so Kyle could hear me. And that was when the character was born." There is something about Lynch that's just like when I read something in his voice, I always just imagine him yelling. Even in the behind-the-scenes making of his films, he's directing scenes with a bullhorn. Kind of reminds me of directors from the early silent years of Hollywood shouting direction with the giant megaphone. Action, see? Anyway, when his character finally made his actual on-screen appearance in season 2, they really leaned into that shouting aspect by making Cole hard of hearing.
Great! Pay dirt! You'll have to speak up, Sheriff. Hearing's gone. Long story. Got these things cranked up to the max.
It's definitely this odd comedic performance and filled with countless quotable lines.
You remind me today of a small Mexican chihuahua.
Actor Don Murray said of Lynch's performance, "My God, David's such a wonderful actor. That's a marvelous character he's created with Gordon Cole. Just great. And there's such humor in the show. The New York Daily News described it as, quote, the most hysterical comedy of the year."
Well, seeing your beauty now, I feel as though my stomach is filled with a team of bumblebees.
You don't have to shout, I can hear you.
I heard that.
Please.
You don't understand. You don't understand, Miss Johnson. Do you see these?
Huh?
For 20 years, I've been asking people to please speak up, but for some weird reason, I can hear you clear as a bell.
And going back to that voice, man, I feel like this role became the template for fans' default impersonation of Lynch going forward. It certainly became my template.
Gordon has mentioned pages.
What I mentioned were pages found near the bloody towel down the train tracks from the crime site were from a diary.
And here's a fun fact, his first true appearance was actually in the first episode of the series. So I was scrolling through IMDb and I'm seeing what episodes he was in, and he's credited on the first episode as Reflection of the Man in Headphones in Police Station. And if you look at the scene, he's just reflected in the window. I mean, that's gotta be just like a technical goof here in the making of the show. I doubt it was planned, like, oh, I'm gonna add some mystery. But hey, who knows? Things like this just seem to work in Twin Peaks.
What the hell's going on?
You are witnessing a front three-quarter view of two adults sharing a tender moment. Acts like he's never seen a kiss before.
Then for a number of years, Lynch went through this phase where I guess he just decided to focus on making sure he was a Hollywood directing legend. Not a lot of acting.
Real nice. You want to do just one more, and we got it.
He did play a morgue receptionist in a vampire movie he produced called Nadia. Quick scene, but he somehow put a stamp on it by becoming cross-eyed near the end of it. I mean, one eye moves and the other eye just, I don't understand. How about I go cross-eyed at the end of this? And off-screen, in his last feature film, Inland Empire, he played a confused, nearly incomprehensible grip named Bucky J.
You want it down?
Yeah, I'd say about 2 foot down, Bucky.
How far are you wanting to go down?
Yeah, a bit more.
This honestly feels like improv here, and I'm convinced that Jeremy Irons legitimately laughed after this line.
I want it down, Bucky, 2 foot lower.
First goddamn time I had a cramp. Just a minute, I'm getting on it. I got it on it.
Then at some point in the 2010s, Lynch reached, I don't know, this kind of pop culture zeitgeist cult status in a way. I keep talking like him. I need to tone it down. I mean, he had this distinctive look and voice that lent themselves to bringing an unmatched eccentricity to a role.
Music, internet, a lot of art. Does that take you too much away from movies?
One thing always feeds another, and a film introduces you to so many other things. So sometimes you go down this avenue for a while, and this avenue, I'm trying to think of another film, and the ideas are starting to trickle in, but it hasn't hit yet, and I got to do these other things, you know, and so that's the way it goes. Just a second.
David wrote lyrics, he'd give me the lyrics, I'd sing, and
Pascal!
Eventually they became songs.
Pascal!
I think it definitely helped that he launched his own website in 2002, where he would upload experimental projects he was working on, as well as his infamous weather reports from his workshop.
Good morning, it's July 10th, 2008, and it's a Thursday. Here in LA, blue skies, muted golden sunshine, a gentle breeze, 74 degrees Fahrenheit, 23 Celsius.
Perhaps another thing that helped catapult him into the consciousness of audiences was when he voiced himself in a Family Guy episode.
Hello, I got you a present. It's a thumb. Don't look away. Let the fear wash over you.
I don't understand.
That's the whole point. Now, did you leave a plate of black coffee out for me?
No.
In the future, please leave a plate of black coffee out for me. Also in the past.
Additionally, he voiced Gus the Bartender for 22 episodes of The Cleveland Show.
You don't want to be sober when you walk into that booth and see your names associated with the grossest thing on earth. Fat people.
Prolapsed rectums.
Hey! Prolapsed rectums are not funny!
There has been no explanation on why he took this part, save for a single 2010 tweet from David Lynch. Quote, "Yes, it's true. Yes, it's true. I play Gus the Bartender on The Cleveland Show. Mike Henry asked me to do it, so I said yes." Then in 2012, despite his assistant at the time saying that he only does about 5% of things that people ask him to do, and he doesn't like to leave the house for dinner, he agreed to play Jack Dahl, a producer frustratingly trying to coach Louis C.K. as Letterman's replacement for The Late Show.
No, I didn't realize.
Comedy is about timing, son. Timing. You gotta get 'em, you gotta tell 'em.
Okay,
Work on your speed. Come back on Wednesday.
There's a lot of fun stuff here. I mean, Jack is introduced sitting in his office, scratching his ear with this ominous tone in the background. He opens his drawer. He's got what looks like this pearl handle revolver. They must have had a field day coming up with strange little details like this to establish his character.
Now, have you ever had any experience with being funny?
Yeah, I'm a comedian.
You're a comedian. I've known you for a week and you haven't made me laugh once. Well, all right, let's see it.
See what?
See the funny. Make me laugh. Go.
And you really buy him as this old Hollywood guy who just knows everything about how to make a late-night talk show work. Like when Louie's struggling with something as simple as walking through a curtain and delivering an opening monologue, Jack shows him how it's done.
Good evening.
And I swear to God, he just looks like a talk show host. In another universe, David Lynch hosted Late Night. In 2017, Lynch had 3 projects in which he appeared. There was a short film called The Black Ghiandola, which was produced by the Make-A-Film Foundation, a company that works with the Make-A-Wish Foundation to help children and teenagers with serious and life-threatening medical conditions to write and/or star in their own short films. This one, written by and starring 16-year-old Anthony Conti, was a zombie movie starring J.K. Simmons and Johnny Depp, and Laura Dern appeared as an overwhelmed doctor comforted by a strange man. I don't know, he's just credited as Man in Black.
How long has it been since you've had a home-cooked meal?
Sir, can't you see what's happening here?
How long?
Well, actually, I've been eating from the vending machine for over a week and there's nothing left.
I'd like to cook for you.
You would? That's lovely.
Lasagna.
I like lasagna.
That's kind of brilliant, because on paper, it's just this casual exchange, but Lynch and Dern created this dynamic, like he's madly in love with her, maybe? There's a weird intensity, he grabs her by the neck, and then they're never seen again. It's brilliant. Lynch also narrated this fake commercial for a greeting card company in the film Girlfriend's Day.
Last year, Americans purchased upwards of $3 billion in greeting cards.
On his casting, star Bob Odenkirk said, quote, "We got a hold of him through his lawyer. I never spoke with him directly, but his assistant said that David is a fan of Better Call Saul and Breaking Bad, and that he would be happy to do this short intro for us."
And last night, I had another Monica Bellucci dream. We are like the dreamer who dreams and then lives inside the dream.
What? Who is the dreamer?
Monica looked past me and indicated to me to look back at something that was happening there. I turned and looked. I saw myself. I saw myself from long ago.
Then in 2017, after 25 years, Twin Peaks finally returned with a 3rd season. True fans of his seem to hold this up as like his magnum opus. I don't know, there's a lot to unpack here. I have not seen most of it, and I don't think I could ever do it justice. Much like how the first 2 seasons of Twin Peaks really broke the mold for network television shows, the return also pushed the whole medium forward.
I told all your colleagues, those clown comics, to fix their hearts or die.
Thankfully, most of the cast was able to return, as well as a bunch of Lynch's other favorite actors like Laura Dern, Naomi Watts, and Harry Dean Stanton. And of course, we got the return of Gordon Cole.
Coffee time.
This time his character played a much bigger role throughout the show, helping to move the plot forward and solve the many mysteries surrounding Laura Palmer, Agent Dale Cooper, and all the other weird Twin Peaks stuff.
I hate to admit this, but I don't understand this situation at all. Do you understand this situation, Albert?
Blue Rose.
It doesn't get any bluer.
Again, I really need to sit down and watch this series. The whole thing, really. I mean, I've seen clips here and there of the 3rd season, and I really don't think we as a society were ready for it or will ever be ready for it. And we'll never get another television program like this that shows the horrors of the atomic bomb Trinity test and Michael Cera dressing like Marlon Brando from The Wild One, and David Lynch spending nearly 3 minutes of screen time fawning over and slowly walking a lady to the front door of a hotel room.
Call you at the bar.
And then came a milestone in David Lynch's life when he got to act with his longtime friend Harry Dean Stanton in this really odd but touching film Lucky, which is essentially a tribute to Harry Dean in which he plays a version of himself exploring spirituality and dealing with mortality.
What loved ones do you have, anyway?
When I go, I want to leave all my possessions to President Roosevelt.
You're a turtle?
Well, this might not be the best moment.
And he's still got at least 100 years left in him.
This film was directed by Lynch. No, not that one. Different one. Zodiac guy.
I'm not the Zodiac.
John Carroll Lynch. In a 2017 interview for Collider, Carroll Lynch said, quote, David simply approached it as an actor. He was very respectful. If he had thoughts about what I was doing, he kept them to himself. He came so prepared and so ready to work as an actor that it was very simple to treat him as one. That's really cool how David Lynch took it seriously, and part of it was probably because he was so respectful of his friend Harry Dean. In Lynch's book, one of his assistants said, quote, David was pretty stressed about working with Harry Dean because he loves him. He still gets giddy about the fact that he acted with Harry Dean. I mean, that's huge in his book, like being knighted or something.
There are some things in this universe, ladies and gentlemen, that are bigger than all of us. And a tortoise is one of them.
And finally, in 2022, Lynch played legendary film director John Ford in Steven Spielberg's semi-autobiographical film, The Fabelmans. In his one scene, he gently gives some great pointers to a young aspiring director.
Now remember this. When the horizon's at the bottom, it's interesting. When the horizon's at the top, it's interesting. When the horizon's in the middle, it's boring as shit.
Especially because it got him out of the house and he got to eat Cheetos and smoke 16 cigars. Yes, according to Lynch, that's exactly the number of cigars he smoked in one day doing this. On his casting, Spielberg said, quote, I got to know David when he played John Ford in The Fabelmans. Here was one of my heroes, David Lynch, playing one of my heroes. It was surreal and seemed like a scene out of one of David's own movies.
They tell me you want to be a picture maker.
Yes, sir, I do.
Why? This business, it'll rip you apart.
So the question remains, why did David Lynch act? Like, why did he do all these things? I mean, we kind of know a little bit here and there. Oh, so-and-so asked me to do it. Oh, I thought it might be fun. I got out of the house. I got to smoke in a hotel room. There was also probably an element of wanting to explore an artistic medium that he wasn't too familiar with. He did woodworking, painting, sculpting, making garage rock music, saving Woody Woodpecker stuffed animals from a gas station. He was all about trying stuff out.
And but they tell me that there's this all-pervading happiness underneath everything. And the more time I spend with them, the more I believe it.
But at the core of it, my theory is that maybe even on a subconscious level, he was doing it to better understand what his actors go through so he could be more supportive. I mean, you could tell he really cared for and nurtured his actors, seeing something special in them that maybe even they didn't see.
Beautiful work, Naomi. That was wonderful.
Because I just had that programming. I'm not funny, I'm not sexy, I'm too old, I'm too this, too that. And he just saw me and was able to sort of lift these veneers.
I'm a little nervous. No, Helena, you can't mess up. You're going to be so fantastic. And I'm going to feed you lines, and you hear me, you say the line. You hear me, you say the line. Don't worry about a thing.
David came over to me and said, I said to him, I don't know if I can do this, David. And he said to me, you're going to be great. It's going to be great. You're going to be fine. I know you can do it. David gives me the confidence to do things that I'm not sure that I can actually do. So that's David.
You make him feel that it's no problem failing in trying this thing, no problem. It's not embarrassing. It's a sign of courage, really, and great work to try things to make it real. They can get themselves there. They just need to know that that's what's necessary. And it's in them. It's in them.
In any case, I'm glad we got to see him on screen here and there throughout his career, especially in the later years. It's nice knowing that he really only did these things when he truly wanted to take the time out of his daily weather reports to do them.
I'm wearing dark glasses today because I'm seeing the future and it's looking very bright.
And because he did, it seems more than fitting that these were his final words on screen.
Thank you.
My pleasure.